Okay, here we go. Knock them off. Number one, invest 100% even if the other person's not investing 100%. When we're in a relationship, sometimes we're really doing what we should be doing, but sometimes we get a little bit absorbed in ourselves. And when we get absorbed in ourselves, we're not putting that effort into the relationship. When that happens, and that's your spouse, rule number one, these are going to be 9 rules. Rule number 1 is keep putting 100% in. Don't say tit for tat. They're giving me 50%, I'll give 50%. They're doing 25, I'm doing 25. No. Now, if long-term, they've stopped putting in 100% long-term, so then you may have to see a marriage counselor, you have to find out what's going on. But in the course of a marriage, people stop putting in 100% at all times. There are times when they don't. When they don't, you put in 100% and really put in 110%. Because it'll become so obvious that they're not pulling their weight in the relationship, that if you're in an otherwise healthy relationship, they will rebound back. So rule number 1, in order to keep your relationship before and after going well, if they don't put in 100%, don't drop the ball, you put in 100%. Number 2, be interesting. Be interesting. Be interesting. There's this conception out there that love will carry us through. Love, 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 love. Guess what? We live in the world. And there's news in the world. There are things that are going on. We have causes that we're committed to. And if one side is very interested in the world, what's going on, whatever it is, and the other side said, oh, well, that's okay, you know, that's good for them, suddenly you're becoming an uninteresting partner. And if you're not an interesting partner, if you're not an interesting person, then your partner is going to lose their attraction to you. Look, looks are good in the beginning. But everyone knows that you can get used to looks, and looks fade. Those two are very critical points. I remember a few years ago, there was an actor who was married to a woman, and I don't want to say the actor's name, but he was married to a woman that many people considered to be one of the most beautiful women in the world. Beautiful woman. And guess what? He was arrested soliciting a lady walking on the street, you know, what kind of a lady I'm talking about, and everyone was waiting for the picture of this lady. Like, wow, if you're married to the most beautiful woman in the world and you're trying to pick up another lady, she must be even more beautiful. And then the news came out with the picture of the lady. And you looked at her and you say, what the heck? What? You're married? Like, where's... And it was so astonishing. It was so astonishing that there were opinion columns in the newspaper trying to explain how a guy who was married to this kind of girl could be running after that kind of... Right? The answer is that looks can only take you so far, and we get used to looks. Not only do we get used to looks, but after you're married, people will realize that you don't come out of bed looking like this. Guys have no idea how much preparation it takes for a girl to walk out on the street. Right? I know, I'm married. Like, what? Like, for a guy, what do? We put on a shirt, maybe it's from yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Right? We put on the shirt, we put on our shoes. The guy's version of combing his hair is, boom, done. That's what I did. Yay! Hair combed, teeth brushed. Right? That's the thing. That's the guy. Tucks himself in. Yeah, no. Shoes untied. For a girl, it's like this. You don't even know how many products there are. Right? Lip gloss, the lip liner, the lip with the lip, right? The lip liner, the lip. Right? That's just the lips, right? And then the eye, and the eyeshadow, and the eye mascara, right? So what's going to happen is one day you'll be married, and the guy will realize that it took that you're not natural like that. And you know what will probably happen? They'll say, I like you better without the makeup, right? That's a little secret guys will tell you, right, guys? Stop it with all the makeup. Anyways, I only tell you that because of Shabbos. Because we have a lot of girls over for Shabbos, and I notice some of them end up putting on makeup on Shabbos, and it's an avera, it's daraisa, it's a very severe avera. But because we've got singles, so they say I got to look my best. So I'm telling you, your best is without all the schmear. We don't like the schmear, right? Anyhow, be that as it may, looks will only take you so far. You've got to be an interesting person. You're going to get to be older. And when you're older, the attraction has to be on a deeper level. And the attraction will come because you've had life experiences together and you've been through tough times together. But part of the attraction will be because you're fun to speak to. You're interesting to be around. So number 2, you want to keep the fire burning, be interesting. Number 3, and again, they don't usually say this in Chazak, I imagine, but I don't know, maybe they won't invite me back, who knows? I may have already crossed a few lines, I don't know. Be romantic. And I just hear that my daughter does that all the time. Oh, yeah, I heard the oh in the back. Yeah, my daughter, right? I have 3 daughters. They're all owe to each other, right? Well, when we speak about romance, and this is sort of tough because we grow up, especially if you grow up religious, you grow up in sort of an environment that doesn't speak about romance a lot. You should be aware that the Torah is full of romance. It's full of romance. It's full of romance. Not just Shir Hashirim speaking about us and God. No, think about it this. If the metaphor that is being used between us and God is a metaphor of a man and a woman, it must be that it's a good thing for a man and woman to have that romantic relationship. Otherwise, the metaphor would make no sense. Does that make sense to you? So we have to be a little bit open. And within the Jewish world, I want to tell you, within the religious world, we have it harder than the non-religious world. Because within the religious world, we don't listen to love songs. We don't go dancing. So a lot of the expressions of romance that the world uses, the religious world doesn't use. Which means that you've got to pile on romance in other ways. You understand what I'm saying? And there are ways of doing it. Right? Send a romantic text message. Leave a romantic note. Right? There are ways of saying it, and somehow, anyone remember anyone see Fiddler on the Roof here? There's a song called "Do You Love Me?" You know what I'm talking about? Do you love me? And he says back, "Do I love you? Yeah. Well, I've cooked your clothing, I've mended your clothing, so that's got to be love, right? Do you love me? Well, I guess I love." Right? It's a stereotype. It's a stereotype that if you're religious, you can't express love. It's not so. It's not so. You have to, and it's healthy for the children, but done in a theistic way. But it's got to be done. So be romantic. Number 4. This is my favorite rule tonight. Ready for the favorite? Whoever apologizes first wins. It's my favorite rule. You apologize first, you're the winner. You got couples, you've got these arguments, these disagreements daily. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to. Think about it. Think about it. Think about being married. Are you hungry now? He's not hungry now. You're hungry now. She's hungry now. Do you want to eat sushi? He wants to eat steak. Do you want to go to bed? He doesn't want to go to bed. Is the bill paid? Is the bill not paid? Should we go on vacation? Should we not? On and on and on and on. There are disagreements. And sometimes those disagreements become arguments. When they become arguments, and arguments are not the worst thing. They're a way of expressing ourselves. I once heard this from a great, great Rav. His name was Rabbi Avram Blumenkrantz. He passed away, and he said it over in the name of somebody who I forget, but so I'll just leave it by Rabbi Blumenkrantz. He said, I couldn't say this if I hadn't heard from this great rabbi. But he said that you find by the forefathers that they couldn't have children until after their first argument. It's true. Look at it. Until they had their first disagreement. Give me children. Instead of God, first argument, they have a child. Right? There had to be some, Rabbi Blumenkrantz, he said this, he said that rawness of first being able to express, so there's nothing wrong with a disagreement. You know that Yitzchak and Rivka, there was a great age gap between the two. You're aware of that, right? One was 40, the other one was 3. Right? This is a 37-year age gap. They didn't see eye to eye, to the point that not only didn't they agree who should get the brachot, but do you realize that Rivka refused to call Yaakov Yaakov? You'll never see Rivka calling Yaakov Yaakov, because she said he's not going to be the Akav of his brother. Yitzchak, it says they both called Esav Esav, Vayikra Shmo Esav, but when it came time to Yaakov, it says, and Yitzchak called him Yaakov. Vayikra Shmo Yaakov, but not Rivka. Rivka said, no, he can't be the heel of his brother. He can't be stomped on. He can't be a partner in. He can't be subjugated by his brother. Rivka did not even agree with Yitzchak, but they had love, but they had disagreements. So, when you have a disagreement, when you have an argument, when things get a little bit rocky, don't wait for the other one to apologize. Be the man, even if you're a woman. You know? Be the first. Whoever apologizes first wins. You're the winner. In my book, in the book of the Almighty, of course, and in your spouse's book. And you have to know this even when you're dating. Okay, next. Don't forget to compliment. Why do I say this? Because today, in our jaded world, compliments always have a motive. There's a little bit of flattery. Hey, nice this, nice that. Right? You try to smear up who you could smear up. But there is a compliment for the sake of making the other person feel good. And I don't mean pleases and thank yous. I mean, wow, you made such a delicious dish tonight. Wow, you're such an amazing person. You always bring home a paycheck on time. That's an important thing. You should know, I cannot tell you how many women make the mistake of taking for granted that their husband brings home a paycheck. Why are you taking it for granted? It was hard work. He had to deal perhaps with a boss that he didn't get along with. He had to get there early, had to spend extra time at night, all in order to bring home a paycheck. As a matter of fact, when he brings home a paycheck, say thank you for the paycheck. Don't assume, don't take for granted. You wouldn't want, if he took for granted you doing what your job is, whatever your task is, however you divided it up. You have to say, and I want to tell you, my wife says thank you for the paycheck. She does. She says thank you for supporting. And she makes it a point to say it often. Does it make sense to you? Don't you want to be appreciated that you worked hard and you came home and you didn't get fired and other people are losing their jobs and you didn't lose your job? Thank you for the paycheck. Thank you for the clean laundry. Thank you for folding it. Thank you for caring about me. Thank you for making my favorite dish. Thank you for making special time with me. Thank you for not rushing me up, even though I know you wanted to get to the wedding on time. Thank you for giving me the time that I need. Give the compliment. You look beautiful. You look amazing. Right? Even if it's a little bit of a twist. You didn't put on a single pound. It was double digits. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Next. This is an idea. And the idea is following. We're finishing up. We're going to go fast over here. But it's an idea how people think that once we get married, their problems will be solved. Once I get married, my problems are solved. That's like saying, once I have a baby, my problems are solved. Yeah, it's smooth. Once I have the baby, it's smooth sailing. Does that make any sense at all? A baby complicates things, right? With the crying and the this and the that, right? It's complicated with the baby, but it's fulfilling. If adding a baby to your life complicates things, so adding a spouse to your life complicates things as well. But there's nothing wrong with things being complicated. But we have to appreciate that things are going to get complicated. And you're going to get a chance to look beyond yourself and to stretch yourself to the limit. But life gets complicated. So sometimes people say, we'll get married, get my kids married, and it'll solve their problems. They've got psychological, emotional issues, but marry them off, it'll be the other person's problem. Not okay. Don't do stuff like that, right? Right? It's complicated. More than that, when you go out, everyone's on their best behavior. You never see them acting rude. You don't see them angry. You don't smell their bad breath. You don't have all these things that become very real after you're married. And that perfect person, that person who I thought, wow, this person's perfect, all of a sudden they're not so perfect anymore. All of a sudden there are chinks in the armor. Guess what? They never were perfect. So are you now married to an imperfect person? Are you married to somebody who's not perfect? No. You just have to redefine perfection. They're perfect for you. And that's not a play on words. They really are. What is perfection? If perfection is perfect on their own, then what are you doing in the relationship? They're perfect for you because they allow you to become the best you can be. I'm not the same person that I was when I was married. I was self-centered. I really was. I couldn't see beyond myself. I thought I was a really good person. And then, after I got married, I had to battle and work on those things that I wasn't comfortable with. But at the end of the day, much, much better. At the end of the day, she was perfect for me. When I got engaged to my wife, my parents looked at her and they were shocked because they expected me to marry one kind of girl, and I married a totally different kind of girl. And they thought I was going to marry someone like me. And really, I married someone very, very different. But we were perfect for each other. We are now celebrating, God willing soon, our 25th anniversary. 25 years of happy marriage. Thank you. Actually, my wife deserves a thank you for putting up with me for 25 years. But so it is. 25 years of marriage, it was perfection because of the faults. You know, if you ever seen a painting that's totally perfect is a photo. A real painting, a real work of art has what's called tension. There's tension in the art. There's tension in the music. There's tension in the beauty, which is what makes opposites so beautiful. Next, almost done here. Your mood affects the home. It's a very simple rule. Don't think, hey, cut me some slack. It's my turn to get angry. It's my turn to be moody. I always say this. Women do not realize how much their mood affects their man. Men realize when they're ogres, when they are acting rude, it totally throws the house off. But I want to tell you that women have that same power to throw their man off. And when a woman's mood is, when you're down, you know what happens to a man's psyche? I'll tell you what happens. When you're down and depressed, a man says, I'm not a good husband. I don't know how to make my woman happy. I'm a failure, right? We really do. And when you're happy, and when you're in a good mood, and when you're up, we say to ourselves, what do we say? Who's the man? Who's the husband? Who can make his wife happy, right? We really say these things. So therefore, you have to understand, you have to have control of your mood. And therefore, I always recommend find things that you love, that are your security blanket, and use them. You like microwave popcorn? I do. So have a microwave popcorn at night. You like your diet soda, you like your warm bath, take what you need to get yourself in the mood so that you don't bring the whole household down. Last two. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. Be open about your spiritual shortcomings. Too often, when we are married, there are things that the husband is more religious, more frum about, and certain things the wife is more frum about. And we're embarrassed to admit to the other one that we're not where they are. So instead, what comes out is a charade. It becomes a lie. It's not really who we are. And we never are able to grow with that other person. We're never able to grow because they don't know what we're struggling with. So number 8 is be open with your struggles. Tell your partner what it is that you're struggling with. Are you having a hard time with tefillah? Are you having a hard time with minyan? Are you having a hard time looking at inappropriate movies? Are you having a hard time speaking Lashon Hara? Speak to your spouse. They're there to help you. They're not there to judge you. We're not here to judge each other. But if we're not open with what we're struggling with, then you know what will happen? We'll hide our faults. And we'll start being secretive. And we'll start doing things behind our spouse's back because we feel that they're not going to accept us for who we are. Don't be that way. Allow yourself to be open enough. I'm not saying glorify. Don't say, hey, I'm doing it. I have no problem with it. I do have a problem with it. But I want to be open because I want to grow. But I don't want you to judge me. That's a very, very important rule and a tough rule. And if your spouse is open to you, don't judge them. Allow them to say what it is they're struggling with. Don't be an answer man. Don't say, oh, the solution to that is, like a lot of guys are. No, just listen. At that time, just listen. You too, just listen. Listen to the struggle. Address it later. Be grateful that your relationship is strong enough that you could be open with what that struggle is. And then number 9. Be a dreamer. Be a dreamer. In order for you to have a delightful marriage, to have a delightful union, you got to dream. You have to think, what is my life going to look like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? What do I want to accomplish? What do I aspire to? Share your dreams with your spouse. It's a very beautiful idea. The Gemara says that a man, meaning a person, not a man, but a person who does not dream in 7 days, has no dreams in 7 days, Hashem is not with them. It means Hashem has left them. So the simple meaning is, if you go to sleep at night and you have no dreams for 7 days, and right, for whatever that means that Hashem is pulled away. But I like to look at it like a person who can go by a week without dreaming. Go by a week, especially when you're with another person and you don't dream together. What's your life going to be like? How are you going to live and grow and develop and earn your Olam Haba together? If 7 days go by and you don't discuss your dreams, then your marriage is stale. Your relationship needs a spark. You can't have 7 days go by without a dream. So very quickly, 1 through 9. Number 1, your spouse is in at 100%. Be 100%. Your spouse is in at 50%. Still be 100%, right? It's not tit for tat. Number 2, be an interesting person. Read up on the news. If they're interested in something, make yourself interested in it as well. Number 3, stay romantic, stay attractive. It's not okay to lose yourself. It's not okay to say, well, the courtship is over. I grabbed the person, I nabbed the person. Remain romantic. There's so many little touches that are romantic. When I go to the store, I buy something, I almost always pick up for my wife a chocolate. Or I pick up for her something else that I know that she likes. It's a romantic gesture. I'm not trying to fatten her up. I simply want her to know that sometime over the past hour or two, I was thinking of her. And there's something beautiful about that. My wife has told me, Sometimes that's even nicer than a big extravagant present. I want to tell you, I bought my wife an engagement ring, and a few years later she lost it. It wasn't her fault, but she lost it. It was a diamond ring, a very expensive ring. So I bought her a second ring. And a few years later, she lost it. Oh, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault. You know, I travel. We have 11 kids, Kanai and Ara, and she whatever it was, I don't blame her. The ring was lost. Do I say, well, look, I bought you 2 rings. What do you want? No. My daughter got engaged 3 weeks ago. We had a vart, a beautiful engagement party. Right as the guests were coming in, I call my wife up to the bedroom and I say, before you come down and greet the guests, I have something for you. And from out of her pillow, I hand her a box with a 3rd engagement ring, all custom made for her. Be romantic. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And it's the fire that keeps a marriage going. Next, whoever apologizes first wins. Don't be too big to say I'm sorry, and don't be too big to say I'm sorry first, even if you think it was their fault. Don't forget to compliment. People need compliments all their lives. You look great. You smell great. What you do is amazing. My wife, she'll listen to one of my classes and she'll say, wow, I really liked it. She'll ask me questions about it. Yesterday we drove back from Baltimore. She wasn't able to, I ran a Shabbat.com in Baltimore. She wasn't able to listen because she was watching the kids while I spoke. She asked me to repeat her talk. She showed an interest and it meant a lot to me. Next rule, when you add a person to your life, it doesn't simplify, it complicates. But that's a good thing. Complication allows you to grow and allows you to be all you could be. And they may not be perfect, you'll discover, but they could be perfect for you. Next, your mood affects your relationship. Your mood affects your household. Get a grip. Get a grip of your mood. Right? Your face is public property. If you walk in and you're sour, you're bitter, everyone's going to see it, and it's going to bring your spouse down. It's going to cause rift and dissension. Last 2, be open about your spiritual struggles. You're struggling about something, try to be open. Now, you don't have to say, I'm just saying, you don't have to say every mistake you ever made in your life. That's for the movies, right? Oh, I want to confess to you when I was 14. No, right? That's between you and God, right? That's not for everyone else to know. But if you're currently struggling with something, be open about it. Your spouse can help you or at least understand. And if your spouse is open to you, don't judge them. And the last rule of the 9 rules, how to keep it going now and forever, be a dreamer. Have a dream. Speak about your dream with them. And God willing, your dream will come true. You will find your shidduch. You will find your zivug. That zivug is waiting for you. They're going to see a person who knows how to apologize, a person who knows how to compliment, a person who knows how to be interesting. This all applies to those who are not married. Because this is the key. This is the key to open the door to allow a person to appreciate. They don't have to be perfect. Beauty is when opposites complement each other. If you do all these things, then God willing, you're going to live a happy, healthy, married life with lots of children. Thank you very much.